Good morning. This is Pastor Omar-A-Muhammad, your proactive agent of change who communicates so that others might be healed, liberated, and appreciated. Today was a leap year. Technically, it's no longer Monday Matters, but I'm still dealing with Monday Matters issues. What you're seeing is a bottle of Aunt Jemima. Aunt Jemima. Yeah, I don't know if you remember Aunt Jemima, but historically she's been around for a long time. She's changed her shape. Thank you for joining us, Black Lives Matter too. I'm honored. This is Pastor Omar-A-Muhammad. I am your proactive agent of change who communicates so that others might be healed, liberated, and appreciated. Thank you, brother. I'm going to definitely have to hook you up. I am going to add you on right now. I'm thankful for your life and what's going on. Today, I'm dealing with some Monday Matters, and I'm looking at, you're welcome, I'm looking at this thing called Aunt Jemima, and I don't know if you remember her. She is a historical figure, and in the sense that there are a few of those historical figures that are around still. Aunt Jemima, Uncle Ben. Let me see. I can't remember some of the other ones, but you've seen them around, and they're very strange. They still exist. They've changed their shape and changed their form, but those of us who remember, they still remember that they were the slaves of the slave holders, and they have been politically correct. They've taken off their rags. They've taken on a new form, but yet they still symbolize an old way of being, an old way of doing, and it's very interesting that they still exist in our society. But I thank God for Aunt Jemima. Good to see you, David Divisa. Yes, Sambo is one of them, definitely. But I'm thinking about those images, those that continue to just creep up in our consciousness and awareness without us really knowing. Remember Uncle Ben, the Rice, Aunt Jemima, Sambo, all these crazy little images. And what we have to do is we have to be mindful of those kind of things. Although, for me, the Oscars, the whole thing about the Oscars and all that was a very interesting concept. I decided that I would not participate in that. And here's the thing: I was like, I'm tired of the minstrel. I'm tired of playing the guy who dances and sings and entertains those people who find it their business to be our oppressors, to find it out their business to be the people who keep us in a position of subordination rather than who we are, to be great human beings full of divine wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. It is not intellectual. It is anti-intellectual. It is still that same kind of Aunt Jemima kind of mindset that we serve. We're good for them, for serving them, for singing for them, for dancing for them, and all those kind of things. So I decided I was going to just not participate. I didn't even try to see the opening scene. They're not going to tease me in to see what the brother is going to do. The brother did what he did. He was working. It was entertainment only. He was working. He got a paycheck, and his paycheck was to soothe over, to make people laugh, to be the minstrel of a time. And I'm saying enough is enough. That's why I like your name, brother. Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter because Black lives are important. Black Lives Matter because Black lives is the origin of all humanity. Black Lives Matter because Black lives, yes, I'm saying it is sad, but it is a new day. It is a new day. Just a couple of days ago, I think it was yesterday, Pastor Jamal Bryant was dealing with some of those issues with 300 spiritual leaders, and I'm praying that the spiritual leaders will use their power and influence in the spirit to transform and change the congregations that they lead, to the mosques, the temples, the congregations that they lead. Yes, the genesis of we are the genesis of a new race, brother. We are the genesis of the human race. But yet they look at us like crazy. I'm so thankful for Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, because she pulled the wool from off of my eyes. In her transition, someone gave me a link to all of her messages, and I was able to understand very clearly what was going on. Now, the beginning of this revelation was for me, my being raised in the Nation of Islam. My father, Neely Fuller. She mentions him all the time in honor, so I'm going to look for his book, Neely Fuller Jr.'s book, because I believe she got a lot of her stimulus and her ideas and concepts from him, because she mentions him with high honor. So Neely Fuller and Frances Cress Welsing. And guess what? Me and you, who are saying, you know, we will not just sit back here and not act like our elders did not leave us wonderful wisdom and breadcrumbs so that we can begin to transform our minds. We are not going to be the new and improved Uncle Ben with the Sambo, the Aunt Jemimas of the world. We are going to be the creators and the inventors that God created us to be. We're going to do the work that God has called us to do, the healing work, the delivering work. I say that my name is Omar-A-Muhammad. I am the proactive agent of change who communicates so that others might be healed, liberated, and appreciated. What does that mean? That means I'm going to go forward. I'm going to be active about it. Now, today was a day of rest. If you saw how I opened up my thing, I said I had on the hashtag rest, because I realized that even Jesus rest. If you look at the Bible, it said that he was laying in the ship while all the storm was going around. Even he rest. So today, this wonderful extra year of the calendar, I took a rest. I have been Uber driving. I have been doing all the kind of things, chess tutor, teacher. I realized that in this season, I had to put together a whole lot of different things in order to make things happen for my family. But I would not give up. I would not quit. I would not fall out and die. I would say, you know what? God has a way for me to do it. There's money everywhere. All I have to do is figure out how to turn that money into opportunities for me, not for greed, not for pride, not for arrogance, not to say I have a status this, I have a status that. I don't know if you can see that. That's my symbol. I said I'm going to stop wearing people's clothes. I'm going to put out my own symbol. That's Yah-Soul. That's Yah-Soul, Yahweh's soul. I put my own image. I said I am going to determine what my future is going to be. Survival is the beginning, but thriving is where we're going. We're not just going to survive in this generation, because the survival mindset keeps us in a reptilian type concept where we are running. It's flight or flight. It's a fight or flight. We don't have to fight and fright. We have intellectual capacity. We have wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. We have divine right and guidance of God in our life to not only survive, to move beyond survival mode to thriving mode. And that's the shift that's going to happen right now. We are moving into the shift. We have survived hundreds of years of mental slavery. We have survived hundreds of years of insubordination to the part of humanity that was the most recessive in our production. But what we're going to do today, starting today, on this new year, that God gave us a whole new day to reflect and get up and to go forward. And we're going to go forward in the might and the power and the wisdom of our ancestors, and the might and the power of the wisdom of our present self. Because me and you, brother, together, there's nothing that can stop us. I remember when I went to Howard University, I bought this shirt. Too black, too strong. I don't know if you remember that, but too black, too strong. And that was an interesting concept. I wore that shirt for many years, yes. But what I understand now is that if we see ourselves connected, which we do, if we see ourselves reaching forth that hand. When I was younger, I sold a newspaper called Muhammad Speaks, and on the front of that newspaper, it was a brother, Hit Like Coffee. There you go. Tell me about that, brother. But how we raised our hand across the earth. One was from Africa, one was from another part of the world, and we're shaking our hands and saying, together we're going to do this. Together, now we're not going to hate. Like I love what Dr. Francis Cress Wilson said. We're not going to spend any time hating the Caucasians. What we're going to do is we're going to spend time working with one another and blessing every human that comes across our midst. We understand the divine destiny and the divine purpose that God has for each and every one of us. So today, there's a time, on Monday Matters, I usually talk about the things that are that come out of the week. One thing I learned, that we have to take a rest. We are human beings, and that's part of our divine makeup. That we're spiritual. That means that we can go, but we're also human. So there's a limitation to our body, and there's a certain time that we have to rest. And in that rest, it's a time for us to recreate. Okay, because God has made us original beings, we can create different things. It's time for us to recreate, and we're going to recreate in our what? Co-creation, in our co-creative process. What is that? That we become co-creators with God and humanity. That we can sit down and we can think through. We can say, you know what? Our life matters every day of the week, and there's no time that, because, and what I tell my young people is, choose life. Choose life no matter what. Choose life every day. Choose life always. And I was talking to my sons and said, dude, do you realize that you and some woman, some queen on this earth can bring in life, do you realize how powerful that is? That we can create another living human being. That's a powerful thing. So I want to encourage our young people to use that power of sex wisely, not to just go jump in just to get the feeling. So thank God the Creator made it a beautiful feeling. But to understand that as we're doing this, that's why Sister Frances Cress Wilson said, wait till you're about 30 years old, because then you have the emotional capacity to actually share and contribute to another person. You can bless someone. As we co-create, we're going to co-create divine beings that are going to be so awesome, so wonderful. I love the love. Thank you for the love. So intelligent, so gifted, because we're going to pour into them their lives. We have the actual intelligence, we have the wisdom, we have the knowledge, we have the understanding that we can share, so that when I show my children, I'll say, we have Aunt Jemima in our house, but let me tell you about the story about Aunt Jemima, and why that is an interesting concept, and why we have to keep going forward, that we are not the minstrels of this age. We are not the doormat of this community. We are the original, what she called it, the original being. Thank you. See, I'm so glad you're here, Adam Lee Smith. What we do, Adam Lee Smith, we are talking about important matters on this thing I call it Monday Matters. One of the things that's very important for us to do is to rest, to recreate, and to understand. You're exactly right, brother. That's exactly right. That's where I got the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. First of all, that I am important, that I am created as God. Remember I don't know if you don't know this, but we used to say, we are the Asiatic black man, the maker, the owner, the cream of the planet Earth, the God of the universe. That was a very original teaching that they gave us. The maker, we are the Asiatic black man, the maker, the owner, the cream of the planet Earth, the God of the universe. And at first I didn't quite understand it, but as I got older, I began to understand that they were beginning a process of reshaping my mind, so that I would not be in that slave mindset. So my parents started that from birth, and so I thank God for them. That's why I didn't change my name. I didn't go into any other kind of thing. I continued to grow. So I evolved. I continued from the Nation of Islam. I said, what if I'm going to start at the Nation of Islam? If I was born into this world in the Nation of Islam as a Muslim, that means one who submits to the will of God, then I need to find out about God. So I started my quest as when I was around 18, 19 at Howard University, began reading scripture. I read the Quran for myself, Al-Fatiha to the end. And then someone said, why don't you read it? Because I saw in the Quran that it actually honored this spiritual being called Jesus. And so as I looked at that, I said, wait a minute, let me find out a little bit more about this guy named Jesus who they honor in the Quran. So I read the Bible from Genesis to Revelation. And since then, I have been on an onward quest to continue to study, to understand, and to evolve. What's the main difference between your faith under the Nation of Islam and converting to Christianity? Okay, that's a great question. The main difference of my faith is that I don't focus my faith on race. Remember, the Nation of Islam started as us. They were trying to deliver us from a particular mindset, a slave mentality. So the main difference, I'm not going around talking about the white man is the devil. But I'm not doing that. But I am not also not going around saying that racism, white supremacy is a real reality in the world. There is a reality, and the Nation of Islam helped me to get that reality. But my spirituality is not based on any part of humanity being a devil and any part of humanity being better. All of humanity is created in God's image and in God's likeness, because we are all done that. So that's one of the main things that I got out of it. But the other thing I got out of it, being out of the Nation of Islam, I got self-love. I didn't come out of that thing thinking that the blonde-haired, blue-eyed image that they had hanging up in those Christian places was what I was supposed to worship. I really understood that as being a major tool of mental enslavement. Because as long as we can put images, because it wasn't what I read the scriptures, it said, "Thou shalt not create any image or likeness of God," because it's no way that we can create any image or likeness of God better than the image or likeness that we see when we look at one another. So I say, brother, I recognize the divine. Black Lives Matter too. I recognize the divine in you. I recognize, and I think you might recognize the divine in me as we continue to grow and evolve. We say, we're not trying to see any images. We're not trying to paint any pictures and give any false ideas about who God is. No, we understand that God is spirit, and they who worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth. So we evolve. We don't throw away everything that we learned in our evolutionary spiritual development. We take the best out of it and we keep going. So I took the best out of it. My father gave me a name, Omar-A-Muhammad. Omar is the talkative, eloquent firstborn. Abdullah is the servant of God. Muhammad is the helper, the comforter. So I took my Arabic name and continued to evolve and grow into my name. So I took that out of it. What else did I take out of it? I took out here's another thing I took out of it. I believe in one God. Oh my goodness, one God. Now, the Nation of Islam had me focusing on a black God or a God in human form. But I started understanding that God is, and he is a rewarder of them who diligently seek him. So I kept on growing in that understanding. I'm so glad you checked out my bio, brother. That you, my brother, God is going to bless you abundantly. He's already doing that, but he's going to bless you abundantly because you are doing the right thing. You're studying. You're not just taking people and letting them say anything into your life. You're starting to think about it. You use the handle that said, you know what, I am important. And that's important as we go forward. Yes, sir, my brother. That's important as we go forward. We can interact anytime. You can check me out on any of my social media networks, and you'll see there'll be a consistency of truth, righteousness, and right doing. The way I always end my broadcast is I say, keep your hands clean and your heart pure. What does that mean? Your actions, the things that you do, if you keep them clean, like if you don't want to pass a cold on, you wash your hands, you clean your hands. If you're out there working with the people, you shake your hands all day long, and all kinds of things are going on, but you wash and clean your hands. So like you wash and clean your actions to make sure that your actions are in right alignment with humanity and with God. And then your thoughts. Keep your hands clean and your heart pure. You want to think about what you're doing. You want to think about good thoughts. That as soon as I saw you, brother, love just jumped, boom, love jumped into my heart. Because there was another brother who's up early morning or late, wherever it is, but he's pushing. He's trying to understand. He's trying to get wisdom, not to understand. He didn't just let it pass by. He's digging. He's looking. He's seeking. And one thing I got from the Christian saying, it says, knock and you shall find. Knock and the door will be open. Seek and you shall find. And so that kind of holy thirst for truth that you did, just to look at check out the Bible. Is this brother consistent? Is he right on? That's the kind of stuff that will take you further and further in this generation. Not only that, you will bless your children. You 2 a.m. in Dallas, my goodness. But that's a good time because I found this is what I discovered at that time. During this like 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, the Spirit of God tends to continue to give us, I call it now, I used to call it download, but now I understand that the Spirit of God uploads into our spirit, into our intellect, wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. Usually around this 2 or 3 o'clock, if you have the wisdom to sit back and to be quiet and to ask your question to God and let him speak to you in this 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning kind of time, that's when he just speaks because you don't have all the major distractions that usually will come upon this world. Now my house is quiet. All my children are asleep. My wife is in bed. And but I could not rest. And I could not rest, brother, because you were going to be online today. I could not rest because the Spirit of God woke me up and said, you didn't do your Monday Matters broadcast. And Monday does matter. Every Monday, especially this particular Monday that we had, because it was an extra year. But the way I used that extra year was to rest. I have been going hard in the paint. And God said, brother, you're going to have to rest. Because if you don't rest, then you'll be breaking down. Your body is the temple of the Holy Spirit. So I want you to rest. I want you to recreate. And that's what I did. And I came back out. And I came back out in particular. Now I understand. And this is how it really works, brother. I came back up for you. Can you believe Black Lives Matter 2? That God had a divine appointment for you and for me to meet, just like we have met to this time. And you'll see my work, and we're going to see each other again because we're on the front line doing this work. You had the actual audacity. I was going to say something, but you know what I understand. You had the audacity to declare that your life matters. And because of you making that kind of declaration, this is how he works. This is the mystery of his work. Yes, sir, brother. If we walk in that divine mystery, if we accept it. Last night, I was Uber driving, and this brother jumped in my car. I knew he was the last one, somewhere around 1 o'clock in the morning. I said, brother, he said, man, I'm so glad I got in the car. I said, brother, I could not stop this day unless I met you. You kept your divine appointment. And we just ministered to one another. I encouraged him. He was getting in the car. He was coming from the Oscars and getting ready to go to Canada to do some work. But I said, you know what? God divinely appointed me. Because when I get in my car and I Uber drive, I'm going to tell you what I do. I said, God, guide me and direct me. So I go with the Spirit. I say, let the people be in this car who you want me to interact with and communicate with. Some people, God don't have me say a word, not much to them at all. Just speak for them and pray to them. And then some people, God has me impart wisdom and knowledge and understanding. Like tonight, my brother, you asked a profound question. And because you asked a profound question, I gave you the deep concept that there is one God all the way through the Nation of Islam, all the way through Christianity, all the way through Judaism, all the way through all these things. There's one God in all creation, and that one God has a desire to communicate, and he does it through human beings. So, brother, Black Lives Matter too. God needs you. Now, it used to burn me up when people used to say that God needed a human being. But because God is spirit, he uses human beings to communicate his understanding. He has allowed himself to be in partnership. He said, I created humans in my image, in my likeness, with that same kind of desire to love, to serve, to create, to do. And because, brother, you chose you chose by the Spirit of the living God to connect with this particular opportunity today, you are going to be encouraged to go forward. You're going to have the kind of divine insight, the understanding that, you know, as I walk through this world, I am a emissary. I represent. Watch this. This is what I'm saying. You have people say represent your hood, represent your neighborhood. That's how people do, right? They don't have any property in that neighborhood, but they represent their neighborhood. They don't own any property. They don't own. But here's what you do own. We are to represent God in this world. My brother, did you hear what I said? We are to represent God in this world. How can we say that we love God and we hate the brother and sister that in front of us? That's not the way it is. One thing Jesus, my teacher, told me, he said, listen to this. He said, if you don't love the people that you see, you cannot love the God that you cannot see. It is impossible. So, my brother, you are a special, anointed, and appointed human being. And everybody who's listening to this broadcast, you can share with anybody else, because the truth be told is what's true for you is true for all of us. But especially those who hunger and seek after righteousness, for they shall be filled. That's what it said. Those people who hunger and seek after righteousness shall be filled. So my brother, you will be filled. So I wanted to make sure I said that as we are making this transition through, as God gave us another extra day of this so-called leap year, there's not going to be another time like that. I chose to rest. But I chose to rest because that was what my body needed. I needed to rest so I won't go crazy, so I won't hurt myself. You're welcome, my brother. So we're gonna let us end this broadcast together. If there's any questions, any other thoughts that you might have, we can end it together. But I know that I fulfilled my assignment. I was here for you. I gave my body that God might use me. I responded to the Spirit to say, get up and move, and to go and do a broadcast. And our paths met. And for that, I'm eternally grateful. Because I've met a brother who understands that he is an instrument of God in this world, just like me, just like you. And we are going to declare to the world that we matter. And we're going to give the insight that we need. We will. So here's how I end my broadcast. Brother, keep your hands clean and your heart pure. You cannot go wrong with that. Peace and blessing. I'm out. We'll talk again soon. Tomorrow is Table Talk with Pastor O. Check it out.